can't think of a better guy to lead this campaign for us. Mike Boland, the program director of our Mobile Local Media Advisory Service, a guy who's headquartered right here in Silicon Valley, who's on top of where mobile is moving from local advertising content perspectives, and certainly bringing in the low and the so part of it as well. Mike Boland.
Thanks, Jed. So we have a packed day in front of us today. Here we are. I'm going to go over our agenda just for a second. I really want to dive right into this because we really have a packed day. But just to give you a preview, Jed and I are going to kind of kick things off with some Kelsey data, BIA Kelsey data on what we see in our respective programs, looking at both social and mobile. And then we're going to move on to our keynote with Google. We're going to talk to their head of mobile ad products about how they're continuing to innovate the different ad units and ad formats that are kind of conducive to the way that people are using mobile devices now. And Google now represents a leading market share of mobile ad dollars that are spent in the US, so the things they're doing are very influential in this sense. Then we're going to move on to what we're calling closing the loop. And I think that more than anything, you probably will hear over these 3 days, most exemplifies kind of this theme that we've picked for the conference, which is closing the local loop. We're literally going to be talking about connecting the different dots throughout the purchase funnel through to transaction. We're going to talk to PayPal and Zarly, two of my favorite companies to watch that are really kind of putting together buyers and sellers, and like I said, connecting the dots in that purchase funnel. Then we're going to take a break, come back and talk to 3 different companies one by one in interviews, and they're essentially mobile local ad networks and products, bringing together those models and really coming up with best practices in delivering content on the mobile device that's locally targeted. What's working, what's not working, how are they developing those models? And then lastly, we're going to have a panel of individuals that bats around some of the questions that we've come up with, which are more forward-looking, predictions about what we hope to see in the next year, what we don't think we're going to see in the next year, and let the panelists kind of battle it out in kind of a lightning round type format to end out the day and to end out the conference. So before I get into the content, just a quick note of housekeeping. This is all being brought to you by the programs that Jed and I run respectively, Mobile Local Media and Social Local Media. Those are 2 of our 6 advisory services. And all the stuff we're going to talk about today is very much representative of the stuff that we look at on a day-to-day basis. And if you're interested in working with us on a deeper level, access to our data, strategy discussions, all kinds of stuff, we'd love to hear from you. The best contact is Steve Passwaiter. He's at spasswaiter@biakelsey.com. You can also email me anytime, mboland at biakelsey.com. So let's get right into it. Jed mentioned SoLoMo. We've been hearing about SoLoMo nonstop for the last 2 days and the last 2 months. It's kind of funny, after we came up with the theme of today, the term itself has almost reached cliche level. I kind of feel silly even saying it. It's kind of a silly word to begin with. But what's behind it and what it stands for is certainly important. These are 3 areas that are very much exploding in their own right and coming together in very unique ways. And here we go for the kind of chemistry metaphor of 3 disparate elements that are coming together to form a new animal. So I'm going to focus on just to kind of isolate 2 of those elements, mobile and local, and then Jed's going to come in a bit and bring the kind of third leg to that stool. So I'm going to start off in more of a quantitative sense. These are our forecast data for mobile ad spending in the US. We project that going from almost 700 million last year to about 4.86 billion in 2015. Now, there are a lot of different ways that this can be broken up, and we do so in our forecast, such as different ad formats. What is the portion that's going towards search versus display versus SMS versus ad-supported video? This particular breakdown looks at the difference between ads that are location targeted versus those that aren't. And before I get into this, I'll give a quick definition of what we mean by that. Location targeting, the definition is consistent across all of the media areas that we look at, which is that the ad is placed in a way that it's meant to be shown to an individual in a certain geography. So in mobile, that translates to a certain geo-targeted component to the ad placement. It also could mean that there is geographic-specific ad copy or geographic-specific calls to action. Now, the thing that jumps out most here is that by 2015, location-targeted ads are going to make up for about 2/3 of the overall U.S. ad spend. So I'm going to go over a few reasons why that is, because that does jump out, and some people are surprised by that at first. But the reasons why we think so are, 1, there are 3 reasons I'll go over. The first one is usage. Simply put, mobile local search and mobile local intent tends to index higher on the mobile device than it does on the desktop. Google reports that 40% of their overall mobile searches have that local intent. That compares with 20% on the desktop. It also compares with 30% of that same figure 1 year ago, so it's clearly growing. XAD, which we're going to hear from in a little while, likewise reports that mobile local search volume is up 117% year over year. So reason number 2, advertisers are evolving to start to take that reality to heart. The fact that users' mobile local search behavior and intent continues to evolve. And then also the mobile device itself has capabilities that allow you to do different things with campaigns, given that they're location aware and they're portable. A lot of kind of obvious things that we know about the mobile device. Now, the vast majority of mobile spending, ad spending in the US is large brands and advertisers. And they are already seeing campaigns that are geographically targeted. I compare that to kind of the first generation of mobile advertising, where a lot of these larger brands simply took their other digital creative or campaign objectives or targeting methods and just move them over into a smaller screen. We're starting to see them really evolve into the medium. If you look at some of the data out there, this is just one point from Millennial Media, which shows that the campaigns that they're seeing on their network, 1 year ago, about 19% of them were geo-targeted. In the most recent report they did, which is Q3, it's up to 29%. That's a 53% increase. So that's large advertisers evolving into the medium, in addition to small advertisers. So mobile has not really kind of moved down market to the degree that we think it will, and it has the potential to. If you look at the online environment over the last decade, that down market shift happened as as online ads of different formats became more accessible. And there's kind of a democratization effect that ensued. We're going to see that same shift happen in the mobile environment. And we're already seeing that the demand is there. These are data from our Local Commerce Monitor survey of small businesses, showing their perceived ROI for things such as mobile search, mobile display, SMS, are far outshining a lot of the other advertising that they are working with. And how is that happening? We're seeing it from feet on the street, local media organizations such as Yellow Pages that are bundling in mobile advertising with their digital packages. We believe over time they're going to kind of treat it as its own standalone advertising package, which only few publishers have done so far, but they're definitely moving in that direction. You also have online pure plays like Yelp. Yelp has about 8% of its monthly uniques accessing the service through mobile. However, 40% of its search traffic is coming from mobile. So that says a lot about the level of engagement and the value that's waiting there in mobile when they do turn on that monetization switch. We believe that's going to happen in 2012 as well. Google. We're going to hear from Google in just a few minutes. They're doing a lot to add this kind of checkbox-like simplicity to add mobile to existing AdWords campaigns, or to add a completely new campaign in mobile that is mobile only. We're going to hear in a bit about how that actually performs better when mobile is treated as its kind of own campaign with its own campaign objectives. And then other players like Foursquare doing a lot to engage small businesses to have campaigns that drive people into their locations. Like Yelp, they haven't monetized it yet. We believe they will this year. And then mobile local ad networks. We have a whole session this afternoon on just this. XAD, Chitika, AT&T. We're going to hear from all of these guys about how they are helping publishers better monetize their apps, and then on the buy side, aggregate a lot of different SMB advertisers through channels like Yellow Pages and others, and really bringing that together in an ad network model. So these are all the ways it's kind of moving down market. So those are the two reasons. One, usage. Two, advertiser adoption. Those two reasons are going to really bump up the volume of ad campaigns that are launched that are location targeted. The third reason that's really going to push the dollar amounts towards the share shifts that I showed you earlier is that these ads are going to come at a premium. Those premiums are directly resulting from the higher performance we're seeing from ads that are locally targeted. And again, we're going to get into that with XAD, with AT&T, and with others. These guys all report to me that the CTRs and other metrics they're seeing far outshine what we're seeing on the desktop in terms of benchmarks in the desktop or benchmarks in mobile that are not locally targeted. So those performances are really kind of garnering higher premiums on these ads. Here's just a quick example. XAD is reporting that click-through rates are between 5 and 8%. That's about a 10x increase when you compare it to run-of-network mobile advertising on kind of remnant ad networks or larger ad networks that aren't geo-targeting. The larger ad networks like AdMob or Millennial, JumpTap, these guys, when they don't location target, you see about a 0.64 CTR across the board. So this is about a 10x increase. And then the last point, we're also seeing a lot of post-click activity that shows user intent. So a lot of these metrics are going to move towards more CPA-based models that likewise come at a premium. So those are the biggest reasons that we see that location shift in mobile. Again, that's two parts of that overall SoLoMo compound, just looking at the social and the local. To move on to the mobile and the local. To move on to the social leg of that stool, I'll kick it over to you, Jed.